Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pulp Literature Summer 2021 launch. I can't believe we're still doing launches virtually at this point in time, but here we are, and we do kind of enjoy having people from around the world join us. So let's dig right in. I've got my co-host Genevieve Wynand here today, and we've got a lovely lineup of readers for you from the issue 31, which I do have the print proof here. We don't have, oh, there we go. Let's enter it. Yay. Loose bound, as you can see. So that's what I'm going to be reading from. And I just want to let everybody know that if you would like to purchase your own copy, it is $2 off until Monday. There is a link in the Discord chat. If you're following along on YouTube and you're not in Discord yet, come on over, because that's where all the launch chat is happening. That's where you can chat with authors, and that's where you can enter to win door prizes, which include subscriptions and advanced reader copies and all sorts of fun things like that. So let's to start off, what I want to do was announce this shortlist for the Hummingbird Flash Fiction Prize. Now, normally we would have announced the winners on Thursday, and we do have the winners in hand, and we will announce those by the end of the program. But since we're doing this right at the same time as the Hummingbird comes to a close, we thought this is a good opportunity to do these announcements, not necessarily in person, but as close to as possible. So, Jen, drum roll, please. Can you give us the short list?
Yes. In alphabetical order by first name, we've got for the shortlisted authors, Alex Reese Abbott for Takeouts, Hannah Van Didden for Where Has All the Cutlery Gone, Kevin Sandifer for Out in the Sticks, Kimberly Aslett for Clothesline, Maria Marchese for Acceleration, Megan W. Shaw for The Realm of Shadows, Natalie Harris Spencer for The Art of Ironing, and Natalie Harris Spencer for Porch Swing, PG Streeter for 7 Steps to Retribution, and Shanda Connolly for Colossus.
Thank you, Jen. I'm just going to pull you off so I can bring PG Streeter on.
Super.
Some of the limits of our program, we can only have 6 people on at a time. So congratulations to all of you. These are all wonderful stories, and I'm sad that some of the authors couldn't be with us here today. But can you just briefly give us 2 sentences, one about you and a 1-line tag about your story, and we'll still go in alphabetical order. So I'll start with Alex.
No pressure. Thank you. Hi, everyone, and congratulations. So my name's Alex Reese Abbott. I'm a New Zealand-Irish author living in the UK at the moment. And my story, Takeouts, is about food and loss.
That's a nice summary.
And it was inspired by some work with the wonderful Kathy Fish. So I've got to give her a shout out.
And I'd also like to say that Alex is frequently shortlisted and sometimes a finalist in our flash fiction contest, and we have published a couple of her stories already. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Kevin. So Kevin, just give us a line about you and a line about your story.
I'm Kevin Sandifer. I live in St. Joseph, Illinois. I'm an accountant for our local school district's building projects. That's my day job. The story is sort of about a journey and a transition.
That's quite mysterious, but I have read the story and I agree. It is. All right, Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan Shaw. I'm a after-school literacy enrichment teacher in Toronto. And
Hey.
I wrote The Realm of Shadows, which is about a magical forest that allows you to say goodbye.
Yeah, that's a good line for it. And I just wanted to add that Megan also had another story that was long listed. So she had two in the long list and one in the short list. So well done.
Thank you.
Natalie.
Hey everyone, I'm so thrilled to be here. My name is Natalie Harris Spencer. I'm an English writer, digital editor, and blogger. I live on the East Coast. I live in New Jersey, but I am English. And both of my stories that were shortlisted are about home. So I've been very inspired as a recent immigrant to America, and I tend to write about immigrants doing strange and unexpected things.
And what was the title of the two stories?
So my two stories are The Art of Ironing and Porch Swing.
Right. And PG.
Hi, everyone. So I'm a high school teacher and father of two living in Maryland in the United States, where I squeeze in some writing wherever I can. My shortlisted story is 7 Steps to Retribution, and it's a meditation on revenge inspired by Edgar Allan Poe's The Cask of Amontillado.
Good log line. And for anybody who doesn't want to wait, you can go and grab PG Streeter's short story, The Earth Has Bubbles, which appeared in, grab it here, this issue here, issue 30. So that was a wonderful story. So there is somebody else trying to join the stream, which I think must be one of our other finalists. But I'm going to have to, so what I'm going to do is take you all off now. We're going to have our first reader up, and then we're going to announce one of the notable mentions. So Bob gave us 2 notable mentions, runner-up and a winner, and you'll have to wait to the end of the program to get the winner, and we'll do the notable mentions and the runner-up throughout. So I will try to give you some warning when you have to be on, so it's not a complete surprise. But please prepare to read your stories, or a page or so of your stories at any minute. All right. Congratulations all, and we hope to see you again. So our first reader today is a contest winner herself, and Janet K. Smith was the runner-up for the Surrey International Writers Conference Storytellers Award. Now, we publish the winners and runners-up of the Storytellers Award in Pulp Literature every year, and I was delighted to see when Janet's name came through, because I met Janet at Surrey many years ago, and we've done some editing for her in the past, and it was a real thrill to actually see this story from her come in as a winner. So first of all, congratulations for that, Janet.
Thank you.
And do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the story?
So I have been writing fiction for about 9 years now, and have published a couple of short stories, but I'm still working on a couple of novels. I've also since left my former career and am working through the editing program at SFU, and just finished the writer's studio there as well. So when I came in second at Surrey last year, I was so excited, and to be published in pulp literature was on my bucket list. So I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
Well, congratulations again. All right, I am going to hand the stage over to you, and you can give us a little reading from Maslow Meets the Mayfly Moon.
All right, thank you. Maslow Meets the Mayfly Moon. Errol's canvas dominated the tiny living quarters, not with its size, but in its vibrant contrast to the black surrounding it. The apartment walls, the ceiling, and the floor, along with every piece of furniture, had been 3D printed using the ebony sand of Stygia. As far as scenic brevity was concerned, this perfect construction material made for a rather depressing decorative choice. She stepped toward the painting and peered at the kaleidoscope of colors in front of her. The brushstrokes were short and precise. Beautiful. She stepped back and the collage morphed into the face of a wistful woman. Brilliant. Senna sighed at the talent on display, wistful herself as she measured her artistic shortfalls against her pride in this student's skill. I'm out of paint. Senna spun around to find a dejected young man slumped on the couch behind her. Errol held out a rolled-up tube of red pigment, not looking at her as he pulled his legs toward his chest and dropped his head into his knees. Word got out. She knew what that meant. The Marshall Council had categorized him as idle, a status unacceptable in a colony less than 60 orbits old. Every sector within the city still juggled a crushing workload. Where was all she needed to say. Road crew, an 8-cycle stint starts tomorrow. The boy looked at her for the first time since entering his residence. His pallid face broke her heart. She put her hands behind her back so he couldn't see her clenched fist. She knew who was responsible. I'll fix this, she said as blood pounded in her ears. The supply ship is coming. It'll be okay. She made Errol a grilled cheese sandwich and left. You can't go in there, said the man outside the supervisor's office. He rose from his chair. Senna blew past him. The man inside closed his ledger and frowned at his ex-wife as she charged forward and planted her hands on his desk. I wondered how long it'd take for you to show up. Before you start in? I'm not going to start in on you. I'm going to finish you, Ran. You were jealous of Errol when you and I were married, and now you're being spiteful, taking him away from me less than a month before our first show. Hey, turn it down a notch. I'm not the one who developed the rules for colony living. Everyone's expected to contribute, even your precious Errol. He is contributing, Ran. Just because you don't appreciate his work, don't act like art's a waste of time. Rand slammed his fist on the desk in front of her hands and stood to face her. And you don't act like art is a right. This colony may have reached a stage where it can afford to support an artist or two, but if they're not creating art, they need to work elsewhere. Why is that such a problem for you? It's a problem because the supply ship should have been here by now. The paint is coming. It'll be here soon. You're punishing him, punishing me for a delay completely out of our control. That's not the council's mandate. That's you being vindictive. She stood her ground, but he'd worn her down during their marriage, and she knew he could wear her down now. Their argument over the time and place for art within a society was as old as their relationship, a sore spot born of their first date. It had never healed. She played her last card. You fought me over the blue painting, the one I made of us. If you agree to destroy it, I'll walk out of here and Errol is yours for as many cycles as you want. There, she was all in. After she'd held her breath longer than she thought possible, Rand finally said, I can keep him off the list for a bit longer, but if he doesn't have paint in his hands by the time the Waterhouse project begins, he's no longer an art student. Thank you.
That's a wonderful start to that story. Oh, you've just muted yourself. So thank you so much for that reading, Janet. I really enjoyed that. I just love hearing. I love hearing stories in the author's own voice. It makes it just even better.
Thank you. Thank you
And
for
I
allowing
know-
me to read. That was a lot of fun.
We always say pick up the issue to find out what happens next, but really, really, really pick up the issue to find out what happens next, because it's going to take you where you probably don't expect to go. So yeah.
Okay,
it was-
2020 happens next is basically the bottom line of the story.
No, it is. It is. You will not guess the ending of this one. So,
But it's beautifully inevitable. It's
beautifully
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, what inspired this story?
Well, definitely 2020. I felt that, no matter what our plans are and what our ambitions are, it doesn't always play into other factors. Like, the world is separate from humans. Things happen, and sometimes we're not so much the masters of our own universe as maybe cogs.
Yeah, an excellent point. All right. I'm going to bring you off now. So thank you very much for that. And
Thank you.
Genevieve is going to give us one of the 2 notable mentions for the hummingbirds.
All right. So congratulations to Megan W. Shaw for The Realm of Shadow.
It's not adding her to the stream. There we go. Come on, streamer. There we go.
Congratulations, Megan.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So yeah, congratulations. So Bob said he really had a hard time only picking 2 stories, so that's why he picked an extra 2 stories as notable mentions. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your story?
Sure. Yeah. I am unpublished, so this is kind of cool to get so close. Anyways, so I'm a teacher, but I don't teach in the public stream. My first teaching job was for enrichment math, and I kind of got spoiled teaching enrichment kids. So also being an English teacher and missing it very terribly, I left that job and started the English equivalent. So I have a really, really awesome job, and the program I started has been running for 7 years. So I have graduates now who didn't want to stop. So we made a writers group. And this story is one that I wrote during that writers group and with the help of my 2 14-year-old students.
Oh, wow. Well, can we hear a bit?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right.
It's a very short piece, so I'll read just a very short snippet. The Realm of Shadows. It is important to get there before the sun. If you are already present, already a part of the landscape, you will cause no disruptions. Wait in stillness until the sun has crested the hill and the forest accepted the end of night. Then you may walk, but move slowly, carefully. Sway as the branches and skip as the creek. Do not run unless you are swift enough to blend with the wind. Any motion unnatural to the forest will frighten them, and your chance will be lost. Look to the shadows of the stones first, the ones that are low enough, smooth enough to rest upon, the ones that are high enough, rough enough to climb. The trees will take longer. Look to the shadows of those steps and boulders that dawn reveals, and speak the words of one who has passed. They must be of one who has frequented these woods, and they must be words that have meaning here. That is when you will start to see ghosts. Thank you.
Wow, that is just so poetic. It's lovely. And I love the second person.
Which
It's
is very tricky. Very
very
tricky to
witty.
make second
Yeah.
person work.
Yeah, it is. And it really, it kind of has a Neil Gaiman feel to it.
There's lots of Neil Gaiman up here.
Oh yes, so there is.
Are we in your school library? Or a library? Where are we? I feel like this is my youth or something.
Yeah, it's
Or is
a
this-
mix. I
Yeah?
just moved recently, so it's not organized. But yeah, it's a mix of Megan's books and Megan's teaching books.
Okay. Very welcoming.
Good.
Well, congratulations again, and thank you so much for giving us that on-the-spot reading. Next up, we're going to bring on Colleen Anderson, and I'll bring you off, Megan. Congrats
Thank
again. So, hi, Colleen.
Hi there.
So, full disclosure, Colleen and I have known each other for a very long time, ever since the days when she used to work in the bookstore at the comic shop on 4th. So
That's a long time
it was a
ago.
long time ago. I miss the comic shop. I miss the bookstore there too. So Colleen is a writer and editor. And she's had a lot of fiction and poetry appeared in all sorts of different magazines and anthologies. On Spec and Amazing, Heroic Fantasy. And I believe you've been nominated for an Aurora 3 times.
Actually, fourth
Oh,
now.
4th. Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm up for one for poetry this year.
Oh, awesome. All right, rooting for you.
Thank you.
She's been a writer for many years. Received Canada Council and BC Arts Council grants for writing. She's had Pushcart nominations, it's great that we finally have a story from her after we've been around for 7 years. So, Colleen, tell us a little bit about The Search.
All right. It looks like I'm a bit orange in the camera, which I'm not really orange. I'm not like spray tanning like Trump, but I don't know what's happened. So The Search, when I was co-editing Tesseract 17 with Steve Vernon, there wasn't really a theme. It was basically kind of Tesseract 17. I think it was imagining Canada from coast to coast to coast. So people sent in all sorts of stories, some about various myths, and we did see a fair number of Wendigo stories. And I think there was a Sasquatch, but it's like in everything I've ever read, I never saw an Ogopogo story. And Ogopogo is part of my youth because my mother used to drive us out to the Okanagan every summer. And, for a while, I think I had one of those little ceramic Ogopogos. And so I thought I'd kind of write about the search for Ogopogo.
Oh, was that one of the little ceramic ones where it's like it sits on the little pieces sit on the table?
Yes,
I
yeah.
had that. Yeah.
Well, actually, I think the one I had was all one piece, but,
Oh.
I'm sure they still sell them. Okay, so the story is about Tanis, who desperately wants to find Ogopogo. And she lives in Peachland and goes out to Okanagan Lake every chance she can get to look for it. So she's sitting on the beach, and a boy comes up to her and, asks what she's doing as she has her books and looks. And he doesn't really believe. James is his name. And I'm starting a little bit farther into the story. So they've met. James has gone off, and she's back at another time. Summer hung on hard that year, reluctant to let the winter in. Gradually, the fall crept through the trees, painting them tangerine and russet. Tanis pedaled her bike to the beach every chance she had. She always chose closest to Squally Point, which had the most reported sightings. The day coated her in warmth, but her mother had made her pack her thick green sweater along with a snack and a needless admonition not to go swimming by herself in the lake. She sat on a tan log abandoned on the beach. Calling the water waves would have been a boast for the water. The ripples pushed at the shore gently, as if from a bowl tilted back and forth. What secrets did it conceal under the calm surface? Tanis had pleaded with her parents to take her out in a motorboat, but they didn't see the point. Someday, when she was older, she would rent a boat and search as far as she could. "You're wasting your time, you know." She looked up, pushing her hair out of her face. His jeans and denim shirt draped him loosely, as if he'd stolen an older brother's clothes. "You're not going swimming?" James shook his head. "Too chilly." He glanced at her and put his hands on his hips, staring at the lake as if he could conquer it with a glance. "Not that I would mind, but I have to go to the store. We're just here for another few days, then back to Kelowna." He towed one of the books beside her. "They just want to make money. It's all a tourist thing." She tilted her head. Her mom and dad said the same thing, and she wondered if he was just saying what his parents told him. Yet her parents watched enough TV shows that weren't real, so what did it matter? "Not all of it is. Some people were really scared when they saw the serpent of the lake." James grunted and crossed his arms. "Just actors." "Then what about the people from 100 years ago? They weren't acting or bringing in tourists. It was part of their legends." Reaching for a stick in the sand, James grabbed it and poked it around. People didn't know as much then. A log in the water, some storm, whatever. They just made up stories to entertain themselves because they didn't know the truth. She thought she saw something and stood, facing the point. A dark shape in the distance clouded the water's surface. James laughed beside her. "We know the truth. See?" He pointed up. "That cloud cast shadows on the water." Everyone laughed at her for hunting Ogopogo, but she just knew it was real. "I can see that, but I have to check because someday maybe it will appear." She glanced at him, annoyed by the way he acted as if he knew everything. "Maybe I should give it a sacrifice." "What?" He turned to her, anger lancing his eyes. "Are you nuts? What are you going to do? Buy a hamster and toss it into the water to drown? Or find some hamburger to throw in the lake? I wasn't going to kill anything. Geez, it was a joke." "It's stupid to think of this stuff." James continued to lunge as if he were attacking the lake. Tanis dug her nails into the log and spoke slowly. "Don't you think it would be amazing to find something different? To find out that a myth was real? You can still believe in Ogopogo. I do." He laughed, the sound lacking any joy. Taking the thick stick, James jumped up and stalked up and down the beach. If there was such a monster, you know what I would do? I would be like St. George and the dragon. I would hunt it down because it held people hostage by making them give sacrifices. That's what the dragon did too. It was a bully. I'd scared them. And if I could find it, I would skewer it and slice off its head. He stabbed the air with his stick, swishing it left and right. Now that would bring in the tourists and stop these lame stories. Tanis jumped up. "That's horrible." Crying, she threw her books in her bag and jumped on her bike. "I hate you." She pedaled away before James could catch up. His voice sounded like a gull's as she sped away from the lake. "It's only make-believe." That's the end of that part.
That's wonderful, Colleen. And I have to say that, you know, that story struck a chord with me because I did spend a couple of years when I was about 5 and 6 years old living at Okanagan Centre on the lake. So I really felt that story. And I just wanted to say that you don't look like you have spray tan. You actually look like you've been sprayed with gold paint, which is kind of very sci-fi and quite exotic looking. So.
It was my plan.
Well, and I have to say, I'm Team Tanis because I grew up, we'd go and we'd camp at Okanagan Lake, and I'm pretty sure I've seen Ogopogo. So Team Tanis.
Well, just so you know, Okanagan Lake and Loch Ness are very similar in structure, and they both have lake monsters.
There's got to be something in there, right?
Yeah. Fish.
Well, what eats the fish? All right. I'm just trying to see if we can get our next reader. I had to boot him off to let other people on, but he hasn't come back. So I'm just taking a look and seeing if we can...
I think we might have time for a prize draw, Jen.
There is, but I was just trying to... we will do a prize draw. In fact,
Super.
If you have not put your name down for a door prize, please do so now. I'm just messaging Alan now. My multitasking is not so good. So go to the door prize channels, and there's sequential numbers. So just put the number in after the person ahead of you, put your name down, and I will roll polyhedral dice, and you will win something if your number's rolled. So just giving everyone a few minutes, if you haven't already, to enter the door prize.
I think there's just a little bit of confusion I can see here in the door prize. So as people are going through and putting in their numbers, just look to the number above yours and just pick the next number,
Yes,
the
there's
numerical
some
order that's available.
duplicate numbers here. So, Brooklyn, maybe if I can get you to just adjust those last few numbers. I think Laura Kelly should be 11. Oh no, that's correct. And Shanda Condley is 12. Oh, you did it, Jen. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Well, before anybody else enters, and while I still can, I'm going to use a 12-sided die.
Super.
All right. And what's our first prize, Jen?
That is a good question. I will find it. Our first prize is a digital subscription.
Okay, so, and that is number 3. 3? Oh, I'm not even sure. There we go. 3.
We have a 3, and that's Laura Coleman. Hi, Laura.
Congrats, Laura. So you win a digital subscription. And what is our next prize on the list?
Oh, it's the summer bundle. So it's all the summer issues in ebook form.
Oh, cool. Right. So that would be like issue 3, issue 7, and so on, so forth, up to this issue. So, oops. And that is number 6.
And that goes,
6?
Yeah, Brenda Carr. Congrats, Brenda.
And Brenda, since I know you have all those issues already, can give them to a friend if you like. Just let us know. So Laura and Brenda, please give Brooklyn or Melissa your email address so that we can send those to you. You can do that by private message in the Discord channel. And Alan is back. So we were going to announce the next hummingbird, but I just wanted to give a little more time. So, Alan, if you're ready to read, I think we'll bring you on.
Certainly. Hi.
You've got a. Oh, there we go. The camera has.
I'm here. Yeah.
We're just glowing orb for a minute there.
Should I just jump in?
Yeah, so please just tell us a little bit about yourself, and so everybody knows this was the winning Bumblebee story. So
Yes, and it's a piece of flash fiction. It's called Blind Maggie. It's part of a larger novel manuscript that I've been carving off into little pieces into short stories, and some of those have gotten published and won contests. So you can go to alansinsick.com if you are curious and want to find out more. Should I just go ahead and read?
all right, please do.
Okay. The other hand, the hammer hand, she folded into a fist, held it, trembled it there. There, she said, take that. She made as if to thump the graven surface of the tray. The biscotti cowered. The fly buzzed, landed, buzzed again. She closed her eyes, tipped into the wind, listened for the fly to land. You don't mess, no, you don't mess with Maggie. Blind Maggie is what they called her, behind her back. She'd hidden it as long as she could. Inside the slapjack, a cosmos she breathed into being every day at dawn. It was easy. Every implement belonged to her. Every maneuver she mastered. Even the regulars, in the silent morning when they'd weary in to break the fast, smoke up the counter, rustle the newsprint into wobbly tablets that crackle in the hand, she knew who they were by the gait. and the rhythm of the breath and the scent of the aftershave, the tick of the watch, the creak of the stool, the dust of the trade and the thread of the clothing, the rust or the gunite, the soot or the grain, so long as she presided over the diner in the yard, the hen house and the woodshed and the garden, they were none the wiser. Only when she ventured out did they notice the difference. At the feed and seed, how she pinched at the packet to suss out the name. At the grocer with the spices, how she'd sniff the lid, shake the jar as if to weigh the price. Maggie, who'd always been the fierce, who'd always dare the trucks to hit her when she speared off into the midday rush, they watched as she nudged up into the crowd at the crosswalk, felt her way up the shelf of sundries at the 5 and dime, fingered the tin dome of the talc and the bulb of the eau de cologne and the tube of lipstick, ruby red flame glow, cylindrical as the shell of a shotgun. Maggie fought the sun to stay awake, straightened herself, parried the sound of the birds and the wind in the pine, set herself to the task at hand, battled her way back to the time, to the place, to the day they found her in the rain in a stand of oaks a mile off the trail. She'd followed the stream till the water rose, and then, as the slurry ripped at her ankles and her knees, climbed up onto the higher ground. Where? To hell with where. She was where she was. The world was in a tangle. Then by and by Cochrane come along, out gigging bullfrogs round about dawn, and that dog of his, yip, yip, she hears it. Dog got a possum maybe, got a squirrel, but no. On the scent is what he is. He got himself a Maggie. Yap, 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 yap. Up out of the cane he comes, Cochrane, slooshing up a swamp in the wake of them waiters, dragging a sack of hoppers, high-stepping up the mucky bank. Up the trunk he runs a torch, and bingo, there she is, pressed up into the hollow of the oak, stick in hand, the mushrooms at her feet, the basket broken. Yo, Maggie, been out shopping, I see. Digging you a grave, Cochrane, you and that dog of yours. You want I should fetch you an umbrella? If I was made of marzipan, look like I made a marzipan to you? Now, Cochrane, he got the wit to run a dog, maybe, navigate a hand of poker, but a woman, you got me there. And that was that. And off he went. Waiting for the clatter of the rain to cease, that's what she was about. Waiting to where she could hear the road again, and the whistle at the depot, and the distant whine of the dredge at the base of the phosphate embankment to sound her back through the woods and over the fields and under the shade of the oak in the yard, home. So be it, right? You make do, you live the life you got. Stands to reason, really, when you think about it. Never would she admit, even to herself, the need for another set of eyes, no, any more than she would think to order up a son to compensate for the one she lost. Shh, listen, there it is now. You hear the buzz? That's the end of that piece.
Thank you, Alan. I love hearing that in your voice. You read it so well.
And thank you for giving it an airing and a hearing in pulp literature.
Oh, yeah, our pleasure.
Love Maggie.
Yeah, and so when will the full-length novel be out, or is that still very much in the air?
You can see more on the website, but I'm shopping to agents. I recently won a First Pages Prize.
Oh, good.
Congratulations.
Which gave me an opportunity to talk with an agent and a little bit of, I got some commentary on the novel manuscript. So I'm kind of moving forward with that. And like I say, go to the website. You can see pieces of the novel up here as short stories. And so I'm hoping that it'll all come together. You know,
is it going to be a novel will it be a novel in short stories, or will it be what we think of as a more conventional arc?
I think I'm anticipating that it'll hold together as one story where we follow the two main Barnett and Maggie, the protagonists, all the way through. And I've kind of written it with that in mind. So you know, it has some of the features of what you would think of as a story cycle, because there are little events and incidents that happen within the same territory in the same period of time. But overall, I'm assuming that it hangs together. I
can't wait to see it.
The publisher will tell me.
Wonderful. Do you want to just say the name of the website one more time, Alan? Sure.
AlanSinsic.com. AlanSincic.com. hummingbird.com, and you can
Wonderful.
browse there and read, link to some stories that are already out, and you can read the whole stories if you want. So
Super.
Alan, if you want to put the URL in the chat on YouTube, it'll go up on the YouTube and people can actually just click on it there.
oh, good. Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to pull you off, and Jen is going to announce the other notable hummingbird.
Okay, the other notable hummingbird, congratulations to Kimberly Aslett for Clothesline.
And here's Kimberly. You're still muted and fresh from the hairdresser, I believe.
Yes, I am. And I'm outdoors, so I apologize for the sound of happy birds in the background. Sort
Of course they're happy. You got a notable.
Yes. Yes, this is my cheering section.
That's right.
The bees behind me. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited.
And I know you only just managed to get on the stream now, but can we put you on the spot to read a little bit?
Sure. I can read the first little bit. That wasn't me, I don't think.
No.
Thanks. I'm glad to know that. Speaking of which, I'm going to silence something here so that I'm not interrupted. There we go. Yes, so the story is Clothesline, and I will dive into it. Reach into the laundry basket, grab an edge of fabric, selvage or seam. Pull it from the hard, damp twist of all the other towels. It will hold the shape the wringer washer forced it into. Tease out the edge. When you've got two corners, give it a snap, a hard snap, not a shake or a wiggle. The very best is that hard snap that forces all the twists out in a noise that startles the old cat right off the step. Use the clothespins in your hand. One corner, next towel, overlapping, next pin. From the clothesline step, you see the back field, weeds dry and green-gray in the summer heat. This task is the one you can sense and smell so strongly it will come back to you in dreams and in hypnosis years later, when other memories tangle up at the sides of dreams and become as insubstantial as mist. The memory is so deep it feels like a hard nut at your center, the center that doesn't want to relax in the yoga classes where you hear the chatter from your own brain in every silent moment, the center that won't give up its tears and pain in the expensive therapy. This is more than muscle memory. You were as clean as the clothes then, weren't you? You were 5 or 7. You had to reach to put the towels up there. It was a big help, she told you. The towels were used hard. They lost color, became a similar yellow-gray no matter the bleach or soap. They were used until they got holes. Then they were cut apart into rags. Sometimes the rags got stained with grease or blood, and they might disappear. I think I'll stop there.
Wow, that's so powerful. It's powerful words describing the mundane, and and the power of the mundane. And
Thank you.
yeah, it's lovely, and I can see why Bob picked it.
Thank you very much.
So, what are you? Oh, sorry, I've got a fly floating around my face here. Summer.
Yes.
You've got birds. I've got flies. I live on a horse farm. So what are you working on now?
Currently working on another short story. That seems to be what I'm able to do so far. I'm a new writer, so short fiction has been working well for me. I did do NaNoWriMo 1 year, which let me try that sort of hard run to 50,000 words, and I did get 50,000 words. But so far, I'm really enjoying working on short fiction and exploring the techniques in that smaller format that lets me play a little bit. So the next one it's for a contest, and it's a little bit fun because I've poached my daughter's story, and she's given her stamp of approval. So
Oh, good.
I'm quite happy. Yeah, poached and then changed. Of course.
Oh, of course, that's vital. Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm glad
so-
she's given her stamp of approval. I think it's important.
Yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations again, Kimberly.
Thank you.
And, I'm going to remove you from the stream now.
Thank you.
And we'll bring our next, our next reader was on, and he's just suddenly disappeared. Oh, there he is. Hi, Samuel. You are muted. There we go.
Yep, no problem. I'm back on now. I just really want to say, of course, a quick thank you to Jen, Genevieve, all the editors, Daniel, and of course Emily for choosing my piece behind the sumacs, which is kind of like a little prose type poem about a hawk and a squirrel, and I'll share their relation right now. So the poem's called Behind the Sumacs. During a grocery run, a hawk draws forward like a velvet curtain, kidnapping a squirrel in the process. Her feet never touch the ground as she spools back with her prize, vanishing before the dust can settle. Perhaps she's afraid that I'm what jackrabbits behind the sumacs. Perhaps I am. But now my brain needs oxygen so it can rewire to its chassis. The first features to twitch are my face muscles, nosebleed, dyspnea, mirroring my surroundings. Thank you so much.
I can't get past the line, her feet never touch the ground. That's beautiful.
It was in real time. So I got like an actual real firsthand view of just sort of like what that predator was like. Yeah. So
Were you pen in hand as it was happening, or was it you took it in and then you?
I took it in and I wrote it later. So I love when moments like that can happen. I can actually properly reflect on things. Lately, right now, a lot of my writing has been going back many years ago, and me just sort of revisiting a lot of stuff from my. Some of it's been from my childhood recently. So, but yeah, like there's nothing like experiencing something in real time, like feeling the full weight of it, and then actually writing about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved this. The other line I liked was that, you know, where she's wondering if you're what jackrabbits, you know, like it's, and I love the way you turned that noun into a verb, and it just puts all these questions in your head, and it's like, what really is happening? And you you're kind of embodying, you know, both the prey and the predator and the observer all at once.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun idea to play with for sure.
Yeah.
You got to play in your poetry sometimes, right? Can't always be bogged down too much in the emotion.
Yeah.
What are some other themes that you explore, Samuel?
Like with my first collection, Omni Shambles, which is coming out this fall/winter with Ice Flow Press. You know, a lot of it's like science fiction, horror. So that's what the first collection is about. So I'm working on a second collection now, and it's more so on like a personal level, but there's definitely still the playfulness. Yeah, because without playfulness, you know, where would we be, right? Such a pleasure.
Awesome.
We're delighted to publish you. So yeah,
it's an honor. So thank you.
Thank you for reading. I'm going to pull you off now, and if you want to head on over to the Discord, and we'll see you there. And I should just say to everyone who's hanging out in Discord, once the YouTube stream ends, don't disappear, because we do usually hang out a little bit Although I must say we do have another launch to go to after this one ends. Renee Sargini Saklakar is launching her epic poetry in verse, the first book, Brahma and the Beggar Boy, and that is launching at 1 o'clock Pacific time. The link is in the Discord chat, so go and find that. You need to register for it, so you can do that, but you can register and then join right away. So we've got literature for you all afternoon long.
All day. That's how it should be.
That's how it should be. So, Jen, can you tell us who the runner-up is for the Hummingbird?
Okay, the runner-up for the Hummingbird is Kevin Sandifer for Out in the Sticks.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I did not expect that.
So tell us a little bit about this story.
It was probably one of the very first pieces of flash fiction that I attempted. I have not been writing for a terribly long period of time now. I had written a bunch when I was younger and then didn't do anything for about 40 years. And a couple of years ago, I took a composition class as a gen ed requirement to finally finish my college degree, and remembered how much I enjoyed writing. And so I've been actively trying to write again, even though I have a day job, for about a year and a half. This story kind of fell together as a piece. It started with a simple idea that was based in Greek mythology, and almost kind of wrote itself once I figured out where I wanted to put it. And it's kind of a bare bones modern exposition of a piece of Greek mythology.
All right. Well, can you give us a taste?
I would be delighted. Thank you so much. Let me pull it up here. Out in the Sticks. The first thing I notice is the heat. I can't remember why I ever thought it was a good idea to live in a desert town. There's no such thing as dry heat when your clothes are drenched in sweat. The bus stop has a shelter, but the canopy doesn't offer much shade. The plexiglass just magnifies the sun. And of course, there's no trees, not in the desert. There's an old man waiting with me. He's so old that I'm surprised he can walk around without help. But there he is, standing straight and tall and proud, still independent. He's wearing a suit and tie, and I can't imagine how he stands it. The bus comes around the corner, and the old man asks if this one is ours. I tell him, yes, it has to be, because it's the only bus that comes down this street, and it goes all the way out of town, all the way out into the sticks, and that's where I need to go. The bus stops, and the doors open, and I swear there's a visible chill spilling down the stairwell. I step up into air-conditioned luxury and pull 2 quarters from my pocket to drop in the coin box, but the driver points at a sign that says 75 cents. Damn, I think. It must have gone up. The old man behind me on the steps taps my shoulder, and when I turn, he's holding out an extra quarter. I smile and thank him and drop the quarter in the box on top of its partners. The driver clicks the lever, and I step the rest of the way up into the bus. It's pretty crowded, but I spot Malcolm about halfway back on the right in a window seat. We make eye contact for just a moment before he turns away and looks out the window. A very large woman is sleeping next to him, so I keep looking around. There's an open seat by a little girl, and I point to it to ask her, and she nods, so I sit down. I tell her my name, and she smiles. She's maybe 9 or 10, and I wonder if she's been sick because her head is shaved and her eyes are dark and hollow. I ask if her parents are on the bus, and she says that they stayed behind for now, but they will all catch up with her later. The bus is nearly full, and most of the other passengers are wearing their Sunday best. Only a handful are dressed for comfort, like me. The bus makes a couple more stops as we move through the city. A woman gets on with a child and a huge bag that hangs loose like there's nothing in it. There's no babies on the bus today, thank God. The last passenger to board is a young soldier in uniform, but there aren't any seats left, so he takes point at the front of the bus, just behind the yellow line, a sentry standing at attention. I try to make eye contact again with Malcolm, but he keeps turning away as though he's fascinated by something outside the window. I want to tell him that I forgive him, that it wasn't all his fault, and that I still love him, but he doesn't seem to want to talk to me right now. There's more.
That's so wonderful.
Thanks for that, Kevin.
No, thank you for having me. This is quite an honor.
And, it just occurred to me as you were reading, and it didn't occur to me before that, but, we always get these connections with these issues, and it's not in the same issue, but we just had Janet reading about the planet Stygia, and then your story here just dovetails nicely with that.
Right. Yeah.
So I didn't realize this until now, although I'd like for you all to think that I did, but I feel like there's a bit of a play on Out in the Sticks.
Yes.
Which when I was hearing the story, this is a beautiful story, and it definitely rewards a couple of readings. And it was when we meet the little girl that I thought, yes, but it is such a beautiful and powerful story. And
it's the first time I've ever read it out loud to anyone but myself.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I have found that reading stories out loud always helps me in the pacing and the cadence and the just basically how well does it track?
Mm-hmm.
What is the lilt? But this one in particular, I think, is much better read out loud than it is on the page.
Well, it rewards different kinds of readings. I mean,
yes.
it really, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for that lovely reading, and congratulations again. I'm going to bring our other editor on, Mel.
Hi. Great reading, Kevin.
Thank you.
Whose work also delves deeply into myth, I must say. So you're in good company.
Or I'm in good company.
Well, you are each within each other's good company. Let's put it that way.
No, we are in good company. I am in good company. I'm in good company.
What a very Canadian interchange there. Oh no, after you.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
So thanks so much, Kevin. I'll bring you off now, and you can head on over to the Discord channel and hang out there. And I want to remind people again that if you haven't entered the prize draw, to do so now. And I think it is about time. Is it time to draw, or are we drawing after Mel reads? We've got a little ways. We'll wait a bit to draw. So get those entries in. And Mel really needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce her anyway. So she's my partner in crime, founding editor here at Pulp Literature, and well known as the author of the wonderful Stella Ryman and the Fairmount Manor Mysteries series, and also becoming well known for The Extra, which we have been serializing. And this issue is the final installment of The Extra, starring the wonderful Frankie Ray. And Mel, can you tell us a little bit more about Frankie and what you're going to read?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to. It's great to be here. My goodness, I've been enjoying the readings. So good. Yeah. And Frankie Ray is what I want to be, which was in 1934, school teacher runs away to become a movie actress And things are going fine on her first day, but then by her third day, she's accused of murdering a movie icon named Gilbert Howard. And she is being pursued by the police. So using all her acting chops, she disguises herself as a very handsome male detective and to investigate the murder, and also finds herself tagged to be an ingenue actor by the loose cannon Marietta Valdez, also a movie star with big ambitions to be the first big woman director. At the moment, we find her still disguised as the handsome private detective and newly discovered male ingenue Frank Achilles in the ashes of the burned out movie set, and she's putting the screws on her investigation. Marietta has just confessed to the murder, but she's an excellent actress and a fluent liar, and something is not adding up. In the silence that followed Marietta's confession, Frankie noticed that the moonlight turned the actress's dress and lips gray, so that she appeared more than ever her screen self in the black and white world of the movies. And despite her skilled delivery of the line, "I did it," Frankie was certain that Marietta was acting, lying. Was Marietta capable of murder? Absolutely. Marietta was capable of anything in the pursuit of her career. Frankie had never met anyone so ambitious in her life, but capability was not enough. Marietta had no motive to kill Gilbert Howard. Frankie said, "Marietta, it will be as obvious to the police as it is to me that you had no reason to kill Gilbert Howard. He was your only ally in your struggle to direct The Emperor of New York." Eugene scowled. "Yes, for once try to control your need to be the center of attention, Marietta." "It's my job," the actress said bitterly. Frankie made a strangled noise in her throat that turned into a smoky cough. And she coughed again. She'd coughed so much since Marietta had dragged her out of the fire that by now her throat felt as rough as the gravel under her feet. "Eugene knows every word I say is true," Marietta insisted. "I killed Gilbert Howard." Eugene shook her head. "I killed him." Frankie snapped a look from Eugene to Marietta. Then she raised her gaze to the heavens and wished she'd never met either of them. Of the three people sitting here, exhausted in the aftermath of the studio fire, one was lying about being a murderer, second was lying about not being the murderer, and the third person, Frankie herself, was being sought by the police for the murder. For Pete's sake. She said, "You're knitting a story out of pure deception, aren't you? Like screenwriters write movies, your story is a fake." Eugene said, "Everything in Hollywood is phony." "Hollywood," Marietta said, "is a law unto itself. It is also the access of the spinning world." "I'm sick of all the lies," Frankie said. "Look who's talking," Marietta retorted. "You've told at least 3 lies since I dragged you out of the fire, and you call yourself a gentleman." Frankie looked down at herself in her man's clothing. "I'm really not so much of a gentleman as I appear to be." "That's all right," Marietta said. "I'm really not so much of a lady." Frankie nodded. "This particular lie ends right here. Marietta, I am not Frank Achilles. I am Frankie Ray, dressed up as a man like Eugene here in order to clear my name of Gilbert Howard's murder." With vigor and with a maximum of modesty in the circumstances, she wriggled the Xenoflex combination down from round her middle, over her hips, outside her trousers, and down to the ground. And what a relief that was! She took deep breaths of the smoky air while her rib cage expanded like a bellows. She desired nothing more than to stomp the Xenoflex into shreds. However, she reminded herself that the garment belonged to the Queen, now recovering from her attack in hospital, and she ought to return it undamaged. "Frankie Ray!" Marietta stared. Then she laughed. "You really are the biggest liar here then. Maybe you did kill Gilbert Howard after all." Eugene let out a quiet groan. "Shut up, Marietta. I have put Frankie here in mortal danger. We owe her at least the good manners not to joke about it." Frankie said, "You owe me more than that. You owe me the truth. Tell me what happened that night. Eugene, exactly where were you when Gilbert Howard was shot?" Eugene looked up at Frankie. "I was with you, Frankie. I was dancing the karaoke with you. Don't you remember?" Frankie did. She recalled everything about that first night at Paradise Villas, the music churning on the Queen's gramophone, the velvet warmth of the air, the young women and men winding a conga line under the stars, and the crackling noise that had sounded like a gunshot. It really was a gunshot. She had danced with Eugene while Gilbert Howard was dying. She said, "One of you tell me what happened to Gilbert Howard." Eugene looked at Marietta. Marietta looked at Eugene. "I will tell you." Marietta got to her feet and stood in front of Frankie and Eugene. She said, "Picture the scene." "I can't. I wasn't there. I was dancing," Frankie said bitterly. "Pretend it was a movie," Marietta smiled. "You watch movies all the time, Frankie, and I know how to make them, so I'll make this one for you. Please tell me straight out what happened." Frankie might as well have begged night to turn into day. Marietta would do things her own way. She always had, and Frankie bet she always would. Marietta began, "Here's the setup for the action. It's a story of 3 girls from Eugene, Oregon, who come to Hollywood, met a famous movie star. Gilbert Howard helped one of them into the career in the movies." That was Marietta, Eugene said. "He sent one of them to hide in a brothel till the movie deal might be made for her." That was Billy. "And he fell in love with a third." That was me. Eugene swallowed hard. The story goes to the root of storytelling back thousands of years, when what's at stake was formed out of an ancient idea of hell. Marietta was wearing her director's face again with its wild objectivity that made Frankie try like furies to understand every word. Even today, our lead actors must escape from Dante's condition, alone in a dark forest. I will tell you what happened that night. At last, Frankie leaned forward as Marietta began to describe the events leading to the death of Gilbert Howard. When Marietta spoke, Frankie saw the scene, as if from the front row of the cinema, a bag of sour lemon drops in her hand and her eyes glued to the silver screen fade in. I'll stop there.
That's so vivid. I can see the scene.
There's so much fun. I've had so much fun writing this book. I'm excited that it's coming out, and I'm really excited to be starting work on the second novel in the series.
Oh, I can't wait.
Castle on Sunset Boulevard. Yeah. More mysteries for Frankie Ray to solve.
And there are so many twists and turns in that. You think this sounds like, the Poirot denouement. It's not. There's more to come. Thanks for that reading, Mel.
Thank you.
All right. I think it's time to do a door prize draw. How many are we up to now in the door prize?
We are up to 14.
14. Okay, so that means moving up to my 20-sided die. So we'll go purple. All right. Number 13.
Number 13 is Paul Woodward.
Paul Woodward, if you are there in the audience, please drop a note for Brooklyn or Melissa, and they will make sure that you get your prize. And what is the prize, Jen?
The prize. Oh, I see a few added.
Yeah. The prize
That is a Frankie ARC, an advanced review copy of Frankie.
Yes. So that is not quite ready yet, but it'll be ready very soon for the full novel version of Frankie. And then I thought we would, while we're at it, give away a Stella ARC, because Mel has a new Stella book coming out soon. And I know many of you in the audience are eagerly awaiting it. I've been listening to the installments as they come out, and I am just loving it so much. I really can't decide who I like better, Stella or Frankie. They're both delightful.
I think Stella would say it's not a competition.
It's
I
not.
kind of feel like it's applesauce and oranges.
Yes. Applesauce and oranges. Good.
Both of them runaways.
And
Yeah.
it is number 14.
Okay, number 14A, Graham Scott.
Graham,
Hey,
so
Graham.
you win the Stella Arc, and that is not ready yet, but we will put your email address down there, and we will put your name down. And when it comes out, send it to you. And speaking of Graham, that's who we have up next.
Oh, fantastic.
Let me just add you to the stream.
Hello.
Hey, Graham.
So I'm a winner.
You're
You are a winner.
How many winners today?
I already felt like a winner for being in pulp literature the second
Yay.
time. So
So for those of you who are not familiar, Graham has had another story published in Pulp, and that was in issue 25. It was co-written with Wallace Cleaves, and it was called A Parable of Things That Crawl and Fly, a science fiction story, quite different from the one that is in this issue, which is Armageddon by Tarantino, which is a lovely title, by the way.
thanks.
So, Graham, why don't you tell us a little bit about this story?
So I was actually trying to rack my brain because it's been a couple of years since I wrote the first draft of it. I was trying to figure out what the origin was. And what I'm remembering is that there was some kind of a flash fiction contest for which the prompt was intergalactic war. And I didn't really feel like writing at that scale. And I was mostly interested. I was kind of thinking about like the scale of like a grasshopper on a blade of grass in an actual like terrestrial war, trying to puzzle out what's going on with the exploding shells. And so then I scaled everything down to the perspective of some people in a picnic on Earth, watching the Galactic War go by. And I think kind of over the time I was writing the story, it became not necessarily even an intergalactic war. Could be any number of explanations. And some of them are discussed later in the story after the excerpt I'm about to read. Pardon me. So, but, and the other thing that happened with that one is initially it had a lot of pandemic vibes, and it was written before the pandemic. So there was a point at which I was going, I can't send this out. Nobody wants to read pandemic fiction. But like, just to give you a hint, like you were commenting on the title, Armageddon by Tarantino, but the original title was Shelter in Place.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Well, okay, I'm changing that title.
Yeah,
Like, so
yeah,
I changed
nobody
I
wants
changed,
to read that.
Yeah,
I
changed
feel
the
though
title.
we
I
need to
changed a whole
ask
bunch
you,
of bits.
we need to know what you're working on now so we know what's coming.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk after you read.
Okay, you can do that, sure. So anyway, I can start. I'm basically starting with the first section of the story. Ellie misses the football, not because she's 8, but because she's staring at the sky. This is how I know another star has exploded. I rush to block her view of the heavens and, finger to chin, nudge her gaze back to Earth. You all right? I ask. She nods. I watch her chest as her breathing returns to normal. Everyone else ignores the star. Mom mise en places the dinner line. Cousins toss bean bags and frisbees. Bruce sits by the radio, even though it's off, even though there's no game on, because as far as he's concerned, there should be a game. We have Chamberlain Park to ourselves today. No one else is on the grass. The emptiness everywhere I go feels like a drumbeat, a message. When I showed up for astronomy yesterday, I found row upon row of vacant seats facing an untended lectern. Crowds can be found in obvious places, of course. At the grocery store, the lines go all the way to the milk. But here at the park, it's just us. In every hurricane, there's some idiot family that refuses to evacuate. Ellie glances at the sky again, and I say, nothing's hit us. She nods. She's become so quiet lately that I gauge her mood from the vigor of her head movements. Shallow and hesitant, I think, means not yet. If so, she isn't wrong. Every few hours, a star in our sky explodes, but with all the energy channeled into beams, like water jets from a hose with a thumb over the opening. It's been going like that for a few days now, and no one knows why. So far, we're only getting droplets from the side, nothing straight on, not yet, or we'd be toast. Ellie taps the phone in my pocket and gazes a question. Okay, I say. Side by side in the grass, we scroll news on my phone. Don't go freaking her out, Mom calls. She's knifing King's cake into wedges. What she means by this is don't watch the news. And what that means is that Bruce has become Mom's barometer for truth, which I already knew. As a younger woman, she'd homeschooled us through the pandemic that killed Dad. When I look at her, I still see the woman who woke me up after midnight to spy on Saturn's rings through a telescope. Mom continues, Ellie had nightmares last night. Yes, I think. I was the one who dealt with them. My phone chirps. It's Zoe, the only Burroughs missing, disinvited after her accusations. Her text reads, is he there? Ellie wonders, is who here? As Bruce pops the tab on another beer. Yeah, I reply by text. I'm with Ellie. Ellie gives me a quizzical look. I say, she worries about you. Because of the stars? Just generally, it's a big sister thing. Last night, when Ellie dreamed of angry stars, it was Zoe she cried for. But since Zoe's with friends now, Mom sent up Bruce, who shouldn't have been over in the first place, who shouldn't now be in the park with us, but who knows the sheriff, so. I cut him off at Ellie's door. I've got it, I said. Repeated it as Bruce lurked in the doorway, blotted against the hall light. After he skulked away, I held Ellie's hand as her breathing steadied and her eyes closed. Ellie taps my phone again. A video of my professor is on the news feed. Oh, I say, I saw that one, and this is true. I watched it last night on earbuds while I held Ellie's hand. I say, it wasn't very good. This is untrue, but the video will do nothing to ease her mind. That's where I will stop.
That is quite a cliffhanger. Even though it's a very short story, it's like you need that last bit.
Thanks.
Oh, sorry, I didn't. Let's put us all back up.
Oh, hello, everybody. So Genevieve had asked what else I was working on. I'm working on a three or four crime stories that are all speculative and some, well, all but one, I think of them are speculative in some way. There's fantasy or science fictional elements to them. But I'm enjoying kind of writing really grounded science fiction and fantasy right now. And so they tend to be a bit cross genre. So
do we need to stockpile?
What do we need to
stockpile?
I'm not a Cassandra, and probably a good thing. But I don't know. I mean, it certainly feels like it kind of constantly. I will say, actually, the person to be watching on this kind of thing is my wife, who is a political science professor whose specialization, what she does with her classes is she teaches through disaster simulations.
Wow.
And her disaster simulations are eerily good at forecasting what happens 6 months to 9 months later.
Oh,
it's bizarre. She's been predicting the future for about 10 years now, and she doesn't mean to, they just happen. I think it just means that we live in a world that's very dynamic and lots of stuff happens, but it is really eerie to watch her students who routinely email her afterward to go, wait, how did you know? But
wow. Well, this is a terrible segue, but just sort of thinking of like, where you begin and where you go. I just really want to commend you because I think what you've done really well with this story is you've given us, like, I remember reading it and it was definitely one of those first lines where, editors always talk about grab my attention, make me want to keep reading. And I have to tell you, this first line is so wonderful at that. So I would encourage people that are, writers, readers, fans of pulp, there's something about that first line that just hooked me like not a lot of stories do. So
thank you.
Yeah, I'd sure love to read some of the cross-genre crime work that you're talking about.
Yeah, I was thinking that when you were listening to you read from the extra. This is a good little crime story. I'm interested in reading the rest of that.
Yeah. Thanks. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your reading.
Thank you for having me.
And lovely to publish you again. And your print copy should be to you, hopefully with less delay than we had for the spring issue. Spring issue took forever to get out to authors and subscribers, but
it's been that kind of year.
Yeah. So I will remove you from the stream and we'll see you back over in Discord.
See you there. All right. Thank you.
See you, Gray.
And I just want to give a little heads up, just to the remaining Hummingbird finalists, if you have left the stream and if you haven't won something already, do come back, because there's just one prize left to go, and we're going to announce that at the end. So do head back into the stream if you haven't already received your kudos from Bob, and hopefully Bob will be able to drop in towards the end. And what else was I going to announce? There was something else. It's just gone out of my head. Oh, and a reminder yet again to go and sign up for Renee's launch, which starts in about 40 minutes. So
I pulled out the book.
Oh, excellent. Yes. Beautiful
And
cover. And
beautiful.
Beautiful book. Yeah. Epic poetry. I mean, when's the last time you saw contemporary epic poetry? It's wonderful. Renee's giving Edmund Spencer a run for his money, I would say. With a much more modern and feminist and slant. So I am just looking at where we are. I always leave my readings to see if we have time for them, and it does look like we have time, so I will read a little excerpt of Alenia's song Oburacor. So this issue, there's 2 conclusions. So in issue 31, oh yeah, that was the reminder. Go and buy it now because it's $2 off. There, that was the reminder. So we have 2 conclusions. So we had the conclusion of the extra, and we also had the conclusion of Alenia's song Oburacor. So Oburacor is a novella which is set between book 2 and book 3 of Alenia's song trilogy. And book 3 will be coming out, I hope, in November. It's on track at this point. Who knows? Things, release dates have just been very wibbly wobbly for the past year, but it looks like it's on track for November. And this novella takes place in between. So you don't absolutely need to read it to read the whole series, but for completists, and if you want to get the nitty-gritty details of what happens to her in that space of time, is available in the odd-numbered issues, so 27, 29, 31. So this section, our intrepid band of adventurers have they've reached the keep at the pass, where they're trying to get back into the Ilmar from Oburacor, where they were unceremoniously dumped, as it were. And they have already lost one member of their team to illness and bad weather. And they are, at this moment, just trying to get through this keep, which seems to be partially inhabited, not by soldiers from their own country anymore, but by Esaruk, which are the country that they are in and trying to get out of. So I guess I should. Here, I'll solo lay out myself so you guys don't have to have your faces on screen. All right. It's my fault, Goff wheezed as we rested for a moment at the end of the long passageway. Shh, said Ranil sharply. I ignored her. There were no people here. I could feel it in the air. What is? The climb up the rope had taken its toll on Goff, and he hadn't recovered. Just the walk down the corridor had winded him all over again. Allenbury. I slept next to her as she died. Each word cost him effort. Emirian put a hand on Goff's shoulder. Death in the night is a silent blessing. Would you rob her of that peaceful end? If anyone is to blame, it is I. If I hadn't given her willow bark, or if I'd woken for my watch, I may have been able to save her. If you had been woken, I corrected him. We're all exhausted. No one could have been expected to wake up on their own. I didn't look at Ranil, who had left her post to chase Dartala. We should keep moving, Harthor said. We're fortunate to have been given this route through the keep. Let's not squander it. Goff was leaning against the wall, hands on his thighs, head down. I don't think I can. I looked at Emirian. Is there anything at all you can do? He shook his head. I've exhausted my supplies. I have nothing left I can safely give him. What about unsafely? Croaked Goff. It's either that or leave me behind with her. He waved his hand, presumably at the ghost of Allenbury. I hoped he was being metaphorical and not actually hallucinating. I cursed my grandmother. If only she had taught me to sing healing charms. If only I hadn't run away before I was too young to use them safely. What do you mean? I turned to Emirian. What does he mean, unsafely? I have 2 doses of Niask. There was an intake of breath from Harthor, and Ranil's head snapped around like a raptor's, focusing on Goff. And you knew this. Why not give it to Allenbury? She was only half Ilvani. It would simply have accelerated her disease and killed her sooner. Goff is not any part Ilvani, I said, and yet you're contemplating giving it to him. What is it? I've trained my body to it, Goff whispered. Tiny amounts, over time. Harthor interrupted. It's the poison Valnerati warriors take before battle. It makes them stronger, faster, less bothered by pain. Many die glorious deaths. Not all warriors, said Ranil. Most prefer to die and rely on their own skill and strength and live to fight another day. Give me the vial, said Goff. I won't use it unless I have to. Emirian shook his head. It's safer if I administer it. Goff held out a shaking hand. I'm not going to ask you to do that, my friend. Give it to me. That's an order. Emirian took a small glass bottle from his pouch. You're in no fit state to be giving orders, Goffrey, but since it belongs to you, I'm giving it back. Please don't use it. There was a lump in my throat as I watched the exchange, and I felt the ghost of Allenbury circling round us. Thank you, said Goff, and he held the small bottle up to the dim light from the pigeonholes. With a movement swifter than I thought him capable, he uncapped it and upended it on his tongue. There was a collective no from us all, but before Emirian's hand could snatch it away, Goff had restoppered the bottle. Just a drop, he said with a weak smile, and held up the vial, hardly less full. Let's get out of this damned country.
Wow, that was so good. I love that adventure.
You're too kind, Mel, as always.
So, Jen, what are you working on now?
I am working on the 3rd book. Editing. It's all written, but it's as I'm putting it together, I still actually am finding little bits I need to write here and there. You know, little ones where I put brackets and said, more needed here, or research this or explain this, and it's like, oh, damn, back to the drawing.
Got to do that.
But my books, because they weave 3 different storylines together, are tricky to put together because I write the 3 storylines separately. I write Elena's story and Irdane's and Loresa's sort of all in their own line, and then I have to kind of shuffle them in. And the first book was easy. The first book, it just fell together like beautifully. Everything dovetailed. Second book was more difficult. The 3rd book has been a nightmare. So I'm sure it'll all be fine by the time it gets to print.
Is that partly because the characters have just become so much of who they are that they're not cooperating as easily?
No, it's the timelines, just the way the timelines have worked. Because, sorry, this fly is driving me nuts. The timelines have stretched, and for Irdane and Loresa, they've kind of caught up to each other, and they're sort of following along. So trying not to do spoilers, but trying to put things in the right place so that they add to the tension rather than decrease it is quite a task. But I'm working on it.
Well, we're all excited.
We are. And it's out in November about. Yeah, can't wait.
So that brings us to our feature author. So I'm just going to bring Brenda Carr onto the screen.
Hey, Brenda.
So Brenda has written for us before. She wrote Gret in issue 15, which is summer 2017, all those years ago. And we just loved that story so much. We asked her if she had anything more, and yes, in fact, she did. Now, before we go into that, I just want to let slip that we are actually working on a full-length novel about Gret with Brenda, and we hope to publish that in 2022. Again, timeline, gods of timelines being willing. But Mel and Brenda have been working hard on that. But in the meantime,
it's really good.
Thank you.
But in the meantime, we have a short story. So, Brenda, tell us a little bit about Birdie.
Okay. Well, Birdie is Gret's daughter, and there's a mystery at the end of Gret's book that is partially answered. But I do a lot of writing of short fiction, and some of that short fiction involves little branches off my first love, which is my long fiction. So Birdie was one of those stories. And so it says a little bit about the book to come after Gret also, because Birdie has a child, and that child is very important. So.
All right. Can you give us a little bit?
I certainly can. Yeah. And it's just a delight to be reading this. I can't thank you guys enough for believing in me and believing in my world. Birdie. On that wind-tossed autumn night off the coast of Einac Isle, the Vision ran aground on the pinnacles. No rain, just a fetch like a fist. Lord Calibari and 2 of his merfolk came that night to save me. Demons came too, as they will to a place of death and dying. As a vision splintered down faster than mind might believe, Calibari and his sisters defied death to pull me and 3 sailors to dry land with their strong webbed fingers. We were saved temporarily, if you could call it so, from the merciless hunger of the demons. Yet I was pregnant. Once ashore, grief-struck, terrified, I went into labor. The sailors who had flotsam ashore with me deserted, base and miserable souls. I birthed my boy on the shingle here by the sea, on a bed of dry seagrass tugged from the high tide line. Lord Calibari's 2 sisters shed their sea fins to help me, their green faces fierce in the light of a storm-angered moon. Calibari himself stood naked as a lightning bolt, watching for trouble at the edge of the sea strand, those rare-seen land legs of his a white glimmer in the dark. I looked at the one sister as she gripped my shoulders. I saw the other's hands between my knees as she knelt ready to deliver my babe. I bit against a piece of manzanita driftwood and pushed my babe out. His first wails were drowned by the roar of the waves and the scream of the wind beyond this haven. He was born ugly as a little rook and already peckish. A lusty son, said my deliverer, her chuckle and hiss so like the tickle of the tide against the lee. She wiped him with seagrass, and her sister helped me deliver the afterbirth. We need to lead them astray, the demons, hissed that sister, so lithe and sturdy, muscled like a warrior, with breasts almost as flat as a man's. The Merle woman used a braided hank of my hair to tie off the cord. She used the blades of her teeth to bite into the cord and lift my son free at last. The cold salt of the sea stemmed my bleeding, but dampened the seagrass they pulled around me. Stars light, I was cold. Birth blood still soaked the shingle. Of the afterbirth, the sister said, we must take this through the swells to Judder's Point, away, and leave it there. A chance it might lure the devourer demons there and away from you and the babe. A faint hope. I know, I stuttered, taking my son, now tightly wrapped in seagrass. We have honored our debt to you, Birdie of Isla. We must go, she said, looking with surprising tenderness at my babe. Was she a mother too, I wondered. Calibari came to me now as the sisters left me. His hair was tousled wild by the hands of the wind. To me, that wind smelled of iron and woe. Like his sisters, the Merlord would need to return soon to the sea. He would wither and strangle without water. With none to guide me, growing weaker with each breath in the cold, I struggled to nurse my newborn. His instinct knew better. He latched on with his hard little gums. "A strong pup," said Calibari, placing a hand on my shoulder as my son took his first meal. The Merlord's webbed fingers were the only warmth other than the burn at my nipple where my babe nursed fiercely. "I could take him," he said with sadness. "It is in my power. Newborns already swim. It is just a small wriggle back to the sea. We would never steal a human pup, but with your word, I would save this one from the death that is coming for you. This boy is important. Save him for your world. I know who he is, what he is. All kin have waited, Birdie. We can take him and keep him safe." "Make him merfolk," I said, my breath hitching. "No, he needed to go back to his element. He will not be merfolk. He will breathe air and return to the land. He will only be ours for a time. This boy could save us. We would raise him to fight the demons that threaten us. Until then, let him be ours in heart and bond. Our sisters would nurse him and guide him to creep back on land when the time is right." Already I was growing warm and sleepy. The tides of choice were flowing away. Let some part of his father live on. Let my son be hid beneath the sea, and when he's old enough, let him find a teacher worthy to build his powers. Take him. Keep my poor little hatchling safe. Hide him from the hunters his father and I fled from. I shuddered through stiffening lips. I wanted to ask him if my lover was dead, if our side was still chasing him, or if they'd found him and sunk his ship. The oversea would know. They would know I'd been on my own aboard the Vision. Whatever happens on the sea or on the Isles, the merfolk know. The oversea knows. Ah, but I'd left it too late. I never felt the Merlord take my son. I was desperate to survive until someone should find me. At the mercy of weather and potential predators, I could not be certain.
Unmute. That's just great.
Thank you.
There's just so much portent in there. Like you can feel that sort of, hand of fate, as it were, just sitting there, pushing things around. And you know this is important, and you don't know why, and you want to know why. Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to read more from Birdie and her child.
Yeah. Well, the magic and the adventure just top notch.
Brenda, if I understand correctly, do you teach classes in world building?
I do, yeah. I teach mapping to story, which is a workshop that I do sometimes at conferences. And I also I was a visual artist, still am, and I taught visual art for many years. So I also do a workshop called Draw Your Main Characters. And it's kind of a fun workshop in understanding how to get inside your main character in a slightly different way.
And do we get a peek of your world building there over your right shoulder?
Yeah, that is my map of Pendry, which is the world which is the country where demons are harassing their world. Mm-hmm. And demons aren't really like little guys with pointy tails and horns on their heads. They are pieces of antimatter, and they go after life and basically devour it. So if you happen to be warm and lively, expect demons to come after you if they happen to be in the world. And it's very hard to see them. I love your drawing, Mel, in the pulp issue, because they look like snakes of light. They move so quickly you can't see them until they've latched onto you, and you're done for.
That's actually a great shout out to Mel. Jen, I don't know if you have the issue there, but Mel does all the wonderful line drawings that you see in the issues.
Oh, thanks for that. That's lovely to hear.
Here's the one that Brenda's talking about now. Like there, you can see that lovely drawing, and I love the title page for this issue. I mean, I always love all Mel's title pages. But
Phenomenal.
the superhero boots on the porch.
It felt like summer for superheroes.
It's fun summer for
and that they'd be at home.
Yes.
Mel, do you title your pieces?
Sometimes. Mostly they're the titles of the stories. But I try to title the title pages, the issue title pages, if only in my own head.
So I think it is time to do the prize draw for the remaining prizes. And let's just look at the door prizes here.
So it's another advanced review copy, and this one's for Corral.
Yes, so we have an advanced review copy of Corral, third book in the Elenia Song trilogy. And, that's more. We don't have a 16. Number 9.
Number 9, Kim Harbridge.
All right, so Kim, send us your email address and we will send you an advanced review copy. And for everyone, for people who receive the advanced review copies of the Elenia or Stella books, if you would rather receive the first book in the series instead, if you haven't read the first book, just let us know. So we'll either send the book whatever book you haven't read. So it's not as much fun getting an advanced review copy of a third book if you haven't read the first 2. And then what is our last grab?
The last one. Yep, grab bag.
Grab bag.
I believe it's a 4-issue print grab bag, if I'm correct.
Yeah. So, keep rolling over 14. Number 1.
Number 1.
MJ
Malik.
Okay. So we will need your mailing address for this. So please give that to Brooklyn or Melissa, and they will record your mailing address, and we will send you a mystery package of 4 print issues randomly chosen. And I realize that what we haven't put into the list of prize draws is we have not put a copy of the current issue, so we should do a draw for that. So one more bonus draw. Keep rolling high. 11.
Laura Kelly.
Laura
Kelly.
Kelly.
I know Laura. Yay. I know most of you, but Laura's one of my writing partners in my writers group. So, yay, Laura.
So Laura, let us know. You have a choice. You can have an ebook or a print issue, whichever you like. So let us know which one, and we will send that on to you. And I just saw in the Discord chat someone asking where they can give the mailing address. So Brooklyn, if you can just contact those winners and direct message them. And now it is time, drum roll, to announce the winner of the Hummingbird Prize for Flash Fiction.
Okay. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I just want to recap that we have already had 2 notable mentions, and that was Megan W. Shaw and Kimberly Aslett. And the runner-up was Kevin Sandifer. So, Jen, who is our winner?
The winner is Natalie Harris Spencer for The Art of Ironing.
Congratulations, Natalie.
Congratulations.
Oh my God, thank you.
Congratulations. Well deserved.
So Again, for those of you who forgot, Natalie had 2 stories in the short list, so I think this is fairly well deserved.
I'm in shock, I think.
Are you you can take a moment to breathe, and can you tell us a little bit about the art of ironing?
Sure. So, yeah. So I've only really got into flash fiction in the past year or so. I write long form novels and psychological suspense. So I kind of wanted to dip my toes into something a little bit more literary. And I moved to the States 3 years ago, and I've been thinking a lot about home and where is home. And then, of course, COVID hit, and I haven't seen my family for 2 years. And yeah, it's just brought up a lot of memories of home and my childhood growing up in England, and the quite stark difference between England and America. I know there's a lot said about the special relationship, but really I've experienced quite a few cultural differences, and yeah, just thinking about my childhood and thinking about the relationships with my family, and yeah, I've just been kind of writing about that over the past year. And I just graduated from my MFA in writing from Stonecoast University of Maine, and yeah, just sorry, I'm so
I know this doesn't seem particularly fair. We love the action.
Yes.
So yeah, I have written like a whole series of things about home and where is home and what does home mean, and home and memory and distance. So yeah, that's kind of what this story is about.
Well, that's just, I mean, it's really wonderful, because I think it was one of the first stories that I read when I was, we break up the entries and we each get a bunch of stories to read. And I think it was one of the first ones I read, and it made everything else a hard act to follow. So so well done on that. And I do feel you with the cultural differences, because I lived for 4 years in England, and Canada and England are not as different as America and England. We have more in common, but and Mel has, of course, spent about a decade living in St. Albans, so she's.
So I grew up about 20 minutes outside of St. Albans.
Oh, really? What town?
It was a little village actually called Croxley Green.
Oh, I love Croxley Green. Yeah, that's really close. Yeah, drive through there all the time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And now I'm in Ridgewood, New Jersey. So my life takes you.
That is a bit of a culture shock.
It is. Yeah. It is, but wonderful. Yeah.
So many people I meet here are like, "Wait, you moved from England to New Jersey? Really?"
So, have you caught your breath enough to read a little excerpt?
Sure.
All right.
The art of ironing. Some flat afternoons, I can smell the starch from my childhood. It comes to me on accident, the high whiff of linen on the bend of a washing line, the dense threat of rain overhead. With this smell, I'm 14 again, back in my parents' house, miles and miles away, watching my mother do the ironing. There's a shut glass door between us, behind which exists a green dome terrarium. I peer through the glassy orb at my mother, a distortion. She's a rainforest mirage, her mechanical ironing arm slick hot and hazy. My mother irons things that don't need ironing, hankies, socks, sheets. There's no art to what she's doing, this procedural flattening of creases, this daily smushing. I think she must really love the monotony of ironing. You'd have to love something that pointless that much. Other things need ironing. I have a pile of ironing, she laments, akin to a pile of dirt or a pile of bodies, and she really does. My brother's football shorts, my father's work shirts. She has a way with the limbs, rotating them so it's like the board is wearing them. She wriggles the head between the little buttons around the waistbands. The iron moans with the work. I'm telling you, it isn't art. Mum, I say eager, I made up a dance in school. Do you want to see? Later, I have a pile of ironing. I dance alone in the lounge. One morning, I sneak the iron for my own dirty purposes. I press my cheek to the board, edging the metal as near to my skull as I dare, an acrid smell spitting from my hair. I lift up, tingling. The straightening hasn't worked too well. The ends fray in mad sprigs and the roots retain their curls. Still, I look a little bit more like her, presentable. I will her to notice, patting at my do, but no words of approval come. Instead, the persistent hiss of steam. I hate the iron. I hate its pointless swerve, the erasure, but most of all, I hate how it's a dirty thief, how it hoodwinked my mother, claiming all those afternoons from me before my father got home from work. Not now, love. I have a pile of ironing and dinner to make before Dad gets home. I watch her guide the ship shape, the prow of the metal. I note the occasional crackle of days-old water as it hits the scalding plane. She insists on folding the sheets, creating senseless dents. It's the sheets that get me the most, her, not artwork, ruined by the dent of a shoulder or the turn of a knee. I destroy her work as I lash out in my sleep, yellow sweat leaking, cells shedding, blood seeping. I knuckle rub the muddy stains in secret, the smell like a wet coin. Then I bury them in the wicker basket ahead of the next cycle, almost wishing she finds them, craving the confrontation. I feel sorry for the sheets. They're getting ironed again. I'll stop there.
That is so wonderful.
Wow.
It's just, yeah. And heartbreaking yeah, I mean, a little bit just like Kimberly Aslet's story, you know, the magic in the mundane and the depth of emotion in just surrounding that very simple task of ironing.
And the small powers that we all try to claim too, young and old.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just beautiful. I love that line, was it the ritual smushing or something like that? It was just, yeah. Well, congratulations on that. So for those who don't know, Natalie wins the $300 prize, and her story will be published in the winter issue. So a couple of issues from now. And just so you know, we always try to publish the runners-up and the notables, and we usually do manage to fit them in, and we publish them at just regular per word rates. So if anybody wants to submit their shortlisted stories elsewhere, we will let you know if we want them. So hopefully we will be able to fit them all in. And unfortunately, it looks like Bob was not able to join us. He said it was going to be difficult, but he did want to. So he just wanted to extend his congratulations to all the shortlisted authors. He said they were a really good bunch of stories. And did he have any words that you can read out, Jen?
I'll take a quick peek. I mean, he really did. What I recall is he just commended all of the stories. It's never easy. It's always wonderful to be able to send such high caliber and wonderful stories to our final judge. We make their job very difficult, and that's a good thing. He did say it was a meritorious batch of stories, each of them with obvious merit, all requiring careful study, and that's to all the shortlisted authors. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, congratulations again to all the shortlisted authors. It's a huge. it's a huge thing to just get that far out of the stories that we do get in. And we did like them all, otherwise we wouldn't have sent them on to Pulp. All right, well, we are at pretty much at time, so I'm going to wrap this up. Please head on over to the Discord channel, join us for a little post-launch chat. You can actually chat more casually with authors, and there are links there. So yeah, links to buy the book, which I said is $2 off. Our next contest is the Raven contest. That opens September 1st, which sounds like it's a long way away, but it's only 6 weeks away. So get writing. And that one is for stories 250 to 2,500. So you have a little bit of leeway in there. And the judge for that story, we can announce now, is Leo X. Robertson, who has written 2 stories for us, one of which was Bar Hopping for Astronauts in this previous issue, and Snapshots back in the spring of 2019. So if you want to get a peek into his head, I suggest going and reading those. The other thing you can do is, I think the podcast episode with Leo is still up on Podbean. So go and listen to that episode, because he talks about his bookshelf, and that will give you a good idea of his tastes. I know you're not supposed to write to the judge, but, you know, every little bit helps. Well, thank you, everybody, for all our wonderful readers today. I'm just going to go through and read them all out again, because, I mean, it was just, they were marvelous readings. They seem to get better every time. So thank you to Janet Smith, Colleen Anderson, Alan Sinsick, Samuel Strathman, Graham Robert Scott, and Brenda Carr, and of course to my lovely colleague Mel. Thank you to the shortlisted authors, both those who could be here and those who couldn't. So Alex Reese Abbott, Hannah Van Didden, Kevin Sandifer, Kimberly Aslett, Maria Marchesi, Megan W. Shaw, Natalie Harris Spencer, PG Streeter, and Shanda Connolly. So thank you so much for supporting Pulp with your writing and giving us such wonderful words to read. And thank you also to our audience for listening. There's no point being a writer without an audience. There's no point having a reading without an audience. So we couldn't do this without you. So, have a happy summer, everyone. And one final thing. So we will be doing an in-person launch. Yay! And we are going to, it's a makeup launch for everything that we had to do online over the past year and a half. So starting from issue 26 through 31, it will be outdoors at the Derek Doubleday Arboretum in Langley. There's a little place there called the Literary Circle, which is a little natural amphitheater. Oh, I don't know, it's natural. It's man-made, but it's set in the grass. So we'll do a joint launch for as many authors from those issues, so 26 through 31. And it's also a sort of post-dated launch for the second book in my series area. And we hope to see as many of you there as can make it, and that will be August 21st. So we'll see you in August. Bye, everybody.
Bye.